Hi there, welcome to our webinar. We will get started shortly, and our special guest today is Diane Grindol. The webinar, of course, for today is The Art of the Bird, an overall view of small pet birds. So I thought, Diane, while we wait for people to log on, I'm going to do a couple little blasts from the past. So for those of you who are just joining us, my name is Laura Doering, and I'm the former editor of Bird Talk magazine. And you guys might remember, maybe some of our viewers will remember these things used to come in the mail. Hopefully, used to be on the newsstand at one time. And Diane was like, she was on Bird Talk before I joined Bird Talk, I believe. I believe you were a columnist on Bird Talk for how many years? We're talking
1988 on.
1988 on. So that is a very dedicated columnist. And so I don't know if you, let's see, can you see? Okay, I don't know if it's disappearing into my background, but I was looking through this issue. This was a random issue I pulled from January of 2012, and it's really funny. So small bird column that you used to do. I love this topic. I don't know, I just noticed this. It says, foot obsessions. Follow these tips if your cockatiel is fond of your feet. And you know what? My cock used to follow my feet around. I used to have to be careful with him on the ground sometimes. But yeah, it was a Q&A. So I think it was your answer. It was kind of like a Dear Abby column sometimes for you. We'd have people, you know, with their small bird question. And yeah, this one was my cockatiel serenades my feet. Sometimes he'll just sing, but other times he bites my feet and toes. How can I stop this? So that was the topic that you covered back in the day for our small bird column. Let me see if I can get it. So it's not right into the background, but anyways, yeah. So that was back in the day. And then the other issue I have, oh, that's actually my bird Ollie on the cover, and that was a special cover for me. This is in September of 2011, and let's see what the small bird topic is here, because I just love revisiting these topics because they're timeless. You know, they're things that that don't change. The advice is this one are some small bird treat ideas that you gave readers. So anyways, and you know, for small birds, they like treats too. So this was a good reminder of that. Anyways, so blast from the past, Bird Talk magazine, and we're reunited. So I'm very excited about today. Okay, so if you're just joining us, you are at the webinar for The Art of the Bird, an overview of small pet birds. And you just got a little bit of an introduction, but Diane Grindol is our special guest today. And like I said, she was our Bird Talk small bird columnist for, gosh, we're talking decades. Gave us great advice, one of our more popular columns, I must say. And she's here with us today, so let's all welcome Diane. Yay! Today is actually a really special webinar because Diane is also a very good artist. I hope I can learn some pointers. Hopefully you can too. I'm just going to enjoy the drawing, but the drawings, and she's going to talk about small birds for us. So with that said, Diane, welcome, and I'm going to let you take it away. So let's see what awesome drawings you're going to share with us today.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I always talk to people that want a bird, and they list what they want: a talking bird, a friendly bird, you know, a bird that's easy to take care of and fits in their environment. And oh, they're describing a parakeet or a cockatiel perfectly, but of course they think they want a macaw. So you know, you can't underestimate the small birds. They're really great pets. Yeah, so I'm going to change over to do some drawings and talk more about the different kinds of small birds. I'm going to change over to a document camera and be drawing them and talking about them. So mainly small birds, I consider the parakeets, or really budgies, or cockatiels and lovebirds, but we'll try to get a couple other species in there too. So we're going to start with budgies. So budgies are, they're from natives to Australia. They live in the Australian desert, kind of also where cockatiels are from. And we'll see if I can draw and talk at the same time. This is a challenge.
Oh, and I just want to do a quick shout out that if you have we might have, we're hoping to have time for questions towards the end. And if you do have a question, please use the Q&A button so that we can capture the question, and just don't use the chat button. Use the Q&A. That's what you want to go to. All right. Sorry.
Okay. And you might know a budgie as a parakeet, but actually parakeets are a whole family of birds. And a budgie, or budgerigar is the long version. They are from Australia. And they are one of the parakeet family, but sometimes just popularly you'll see them called parakeets. So it's the same bird. You'll also see English budgie and American budgie, and those are both budgies. They're both exactly the same DNA species, but the English budgies have been bred for show, and and they get big. They're usually bigger, maybe a little different shape, and some special colors. Okay.
And Diane, what's the natural color of a budgie is green, correct?
Good question. So, right, if you go to Australia to their native environment, they're all going to be green birds, yeah, with yellow heads. But there's so many colors. So the colors of budgies are mutations. They aren't different species. They aren't different birds. They're just color mutations. And I think there's 280 some. They got more mutations than any other kind of bird. They also they can say more words than any other kind of bird. People don't realize that about budgies. Because for Bird Talk, I interviewed Puck, the Guinness Book of World Records most talking bird, and he talked to feet. And he would go on and on. Oh boy! And the owner was the incredible one. She recorded everything he said.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,700.
Their voices are very. Like you kind of have to listen for it first sometimes, right?
Right. So Puck's owner actually recorded his voice and slowed it down so she could tell what he was saying. So you sometimes your budgie's talking and you don't even know it because you don't hear what they're saying. They're talking so fast, but they'll be saying what they've heard around them in their environment, and they can learn a lot of words. Yeah. Don't underestimate the little budgie. They've got this, so if this was a baby parakeet, one you might be buying somewhere or from a breeder, the stripes go all the way down to the cere, the top of the nose here. But as they get older, the stripes recede. So this bird's older and has stripes going back. They're really pretty attractive birds. They aren't necessarily cuddly birds, but they're fun to watch. They come in good colors. They like talking, so they're good to interact with and to fly around, not necessarily to pet and cuddle, but we'll get to cockatiels later. Okay, so there's an ink drawing of a budgie.
Oh, and they're also, on budgies, is it true, I mean, with all color mutations, you can tell the males from the females pretty.
Oh, some people can, yeah, people get really good at that. I think with the green, I'm not really good at telling, but you can tell this is the cere, the top of the nose, and it's different colors and different color mutations, and people get really good at being able to tell the boys from the girls, especially in the standard mutations. But they have some really beautiful, like real pastel colors and things where it might not be so easy. So I was going to color these too. So this is a wild color budgie. So wild color has a yellow face. The faces are either yellow or blue usually faced, and then it's green, bright green. So if you go to Australia, this is what you'll find: a yellow budgie, and a yellow faced green budgie. Oh, this one actually it has a little bit of yellow on the back, so it's not totally the wild mutation. It's probably some kind of pied. I couldn't resist going ahead and putting color because birds are so colorful.
So when you're drawing birds, you're typically because you're gonna just have the one eye usually.
The one eye because the bird's looking at me with one eye. We kind of lost Laura. So when you're yeah.
So I remember we used to poll people. One of our poll questions, one of the I've seen is cockatiel was the #1 pet bird in the United States, And then Budgie was always the #1 bird in the UK.
Okay, okay, yeah, I remember they would go back and forth. They'd flip back and forth a lot between cockatiels and budgies. Yeah, about the popular bird. Yeah, it's been both ways. Okay, and then we got to make a nice dark eye. What else? So usually parakeets live maybe 8 to 10 years. Oh, they do have a tendency to get like fatty tumors and gout, so they don't always live that long, but they might. Some will outlive their expectation. Yeah, and what else? And let's see. So the behavior they do that's interesting. They boink each other on the beak. That's something to look for. And if your budgie doesn't have a little boinking friend, you can kind of flick your fingernail at it, and it'll feel like it's it's playing.
Oh, they used to have the penguin toy, the Weeble Wobble one. And
yeah,
then,
I remember those little penguin toys. They still might have them somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So there's a budgie. Let's see. I think that pretty much covers budgie. Then we'll move on to the cockatiel. And you can feel free at home to be making some pictures. Laura would like to see what you do. And then cockatiels, and my cockatiels are in the background making noise. So these, again, they're natives of Australia, live in the same place, inland Australia in the desert, just like budgies. They're actually little, so cockatiels are little cockatoos. And we always, I always thought they were cockatoos, but finally in the 80s, they did some DNA research with them as DNA became more prominent. And they're most closely related to gang cockatoos. So they really
are the black color cockatoos, right?
They're the black cockatoos. They're relatively small. They have a little ear patch. I mean, and yeah, they're black. Cockatiels are gray. They also have an ear patch, and they're really gentle, fun birds like cockatiels are. When you're drawing a bird, you want to leave, any animal actually, leave a little highlight in its eye. That makes it look alive once you go to paint it. Little drawing secret while I'm doing this.
Oh, otherwise it look like a zombie. Like
yeah, I know, yeah. And even when you're doing people, do the same thing. Leave a little white in the eye. And so this pair here is going to be a pair of native or normal colored cockatiels. Cockatiels in the wild are gray. They're gray. They have this white wing bar. I used to live in a neighborhood, and I'd come home hearing my cockatiels and look up, and there's a gray bird with white wings flying around. It was a northern mockingbird, but still, it always gave me a little start every time I saw that. Yeah. And so cockatiels are sexually dimorphic. That's really makes them different from a lot of other parrots. They have different colors. The normal males have a yellow head, so we'll do that when I color this in. And the females are solid colored, all gray with striped tail feathers, and the males have a yellow head and solid tail feathers. So we'll do this.
And those beautiful orange cheeks.
And they both have the beautiful orange cheek patch, although the color mutations of cockatiels as well. They're all in shades of gray or brown or yellow. People love the Lutinos, the yellow ones. They're albinos. And there's a white-faced, cockatiels don't have the cheek patch. Cockatiels like to poof out their cheeks. This one is doing that here. Kind of covers their beak up. Makes it easier to draw the beak. You just have to do a couple lines.
Does that tend to be a sign of relaxation when they're?
I think, yeah, they're relaxed when they do that, and when they grate their beaks too, which some people can't stand that sound, but it means your cockatiel is happy as it's going to sleep. It grates its beak. It's kind of like
a cat purring.
yeah, it's kind of like a cat purring. Takes some getting used to. Not every person enjoys that sound. And cockatiels for treats like vegetables. Mine don't especially.
I hear your cockatiels.
Yeah, I know they're out there talking, Hobo and Harvey. Yeah, so cockatiels live. I always tell people 15 to 20 years, and Harvey's over there making noise at 27. So, sometimes they outlive the normal.
And is Harvey a normal gray, or is Harvey a
No, Harvey's a cinnamon white face, so he was a mutation color. He probably inbred a little bit to get that color when, you know, back then. But he's just been a really happy cockatiel. Yeah, I've had him since he was 7. A teenage boy had him, and then, you know, after a while that got not interesting so much anymore. And he moved to my house. So cockatiels do like to be cuddled and petted, unlike, you know, parakeets, the budgies that we just talked about. They like their heads petted right behind their crest and right over their ears. But you don't, so when you pet a dog, you go with the fur, but on cockatiels, you pet against the grain of the fur. And a lot of times they'll put their head down and ask you to pet them, and they groom each other. They sit close to each other. They're the pacifists of the bird world.
And their crest, don't their crest kind of gives you a little bit insight on their mood, right?
Good, yes,
like,
absolutely.
Crest up, crest down.
Yeah, when they're straight up, they're really startled or excited or afraid of something, and when they're totally relaxed, their crests go down. So it can help you know their mood. Boy, when we have an earthquake in California, their crests are straight up. They also have speaking of earthquake, they have night frights. They're one of the birds that has them more often than other kinds of birds. And so I always have a night light on at my house so that they can see, because birds can't see in the dark. So this yellow isn't turning out so bright, but so this is a male, yellow head, bright red cheek patch. The rest of the bird will be gray. Sometimes the female will have just a little bit of yellow there, not a lot. Bright red cheek patch still. Okay, and she'll have the yellow under her tail. It'll be striped, so we'll put the yellow down. Start.
And Diane, how would you describe the difference between a male and a female cockatiel, personality-wise?
Okay, well, one of the things is that males often like to whistle, and they can learn to talk. So that's if you know you want a cockatiel that talks, you better get a male, because your female's not going to say too much. And they're both the females are quieter and gentler, but the males are more outgoing. And some people want the outgoing. It's interesting.
Right. From my experience, my male cockatiels are always very. They like to whistle a lot, like very boisterous. Like
yeah, they're noisier. They're boisterous. They make more noise. The females only do the cockatiel calls, and they don't do it as often. The males really get especially in the spring. They'll be calling a lot, and they can learn to say a few words. So my gray is looking very, very brown. Sorry about that. And then they have these little bars on the tail feathers because it's a girl, and the tail feathers are solid because it's a boy over here.
Now, what would be your recommendation if someone wanted a cockatiel pair? Because, you know, I mean, like, just if you don't want them breeding, do you keep them in separate cages?
Yeah.
Can you let them?
That's always a problem because we can't neuter our bird pets. That just doesn't work, especially the small ones. Even they've tried. But, so my recommendation is to limit the number of daylight hours that your pets are awake. You limit it to 10 to 12 and never get up to 12 to 15. Then I would increase the daylight hours and be able to have babies. So you want to keep make sure that you can make the room dark and not have a number of days. So in the summer, you're putting your birds to bed early. You can't play with them as much, but then you don't have to do so much, to worry so much about breeding. And then if you do get eggs, you want your hen, make sure your hen has lots of calcium available, like a cuddle bone, and allow her to sit on the eggs if she does sit for like 10 days or so and then take them away. You're going to break the pattern that she's going through and stop those hormones. And then you can also talk to vets because there are loop runs, there's shots you can give your cockatiel. If you've got a female laying too many eggs, you can try to control the hormones that way.
Okay. Well, would like two female cockatiels get along together, or two male cockatiels? Do you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I have 2 males right now, and that does limit, breeding too.
Yeah, right there. There you go. There, problem solved.
Yeah. So that totally works, and they get along. Cockatiels really are the pacifists of the bird world, and they get along with each other really well. What you have to worry about is what other kind of bird you put with them, because not every bird gets along with cockatiels so well. So the next word, speaking of, we're going to do lovebirds next. And even though they've got a really lovey-dovey name, they aren't always nice to other birds. So you have to watch out with them, what birds you have with them, or even if you're introducing a lovebird to another lovebird, you want to be sure and do that slowly, put cages next to each other before you put them together. Whereas cockatiels almost always get along with each other. 2 males, 2 females, groups, it's okay. So this is a peach-faced lovebird. That's the most common pet. There are other kinds of lovebirds. Lovebirds are from Africa, since all the other 2 birds we talked about were from Australia, or their native environment is Australia. And there's other species, but the peach-faced lovebirds make really good pets, and they're commonly available. They always look they're just really put together well. They always look really neat. Yeah, I love their feathers. And they come in bright colors. Again, the natural color would be green with a peach face. That's why they got that name. But they come in a variety of colors. I love like the seafoam ones. Those are one of my favorites. What else about let's see, they're really active. So they act really different from the parakeets and lovebirds. They like to be in things. They like to ride around in your pocket, be inside your shirt, be under your hair. The females will tear up paper or palm fronds or something in the cage and put it in their tail feathers and carry it off to a nest. And peach-faced lovebirds like to sleep in a nest. People give them like oatmeal boxes or things like that. Yep. Or nest boxes to sleep in, whereas I would never give that to a cockatiel because you'd instantly have a nest and eggs. They don't necessarily just like to sleep there. Yeah, they get to work.
Huh. They like the comfort of their
they're
blind.
Right. Yeah, it's a different kind of bird. Let's see. Look, any parrot can talk. I mean, they have their apparatus to talk. They have the right voice box. It's a double voice box. That's why they can make really complex sounds like imitating a microwave. Yeah, but lovebirds most often don't. They usually don't learn to talk. They have this kind of you should listen to some lovebirds before you can get one. They have this really shrill call. I don't especially like their call. But I do like how they look. So yeah, I don't usually have lovebirds, but I've taken care of them as a pet sitter. And they come in great colors. And I wouldn't get and you want to get a hand-fed lovebird and then keep working with it. Because you want a nice tame lovebird for a pet. You can't necessarily tame an older bird that isn't tame already. It's harder with lovebirds. Whereas with the cockatiel, you've got a good chance of being able to tame it.
So as far as lovebird pair goes, because lovebirds are always thought about in pairs usually. What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe if you get them together, but I wouldn't go get one lovebird and then decide to have a pair later, because they don't necessarily like each other, and it doesn't follow with the name, but they don't. So you don't have to have pairs. Yeah. It's okay. With most birds, they can, it depends on how much time you have too. It's just like getting cats, a friend. if you think you have enough time to spend with it, or now you're working at home, like, yeah, then maybe you just want one. But if you know you're going to be really busy, then maybe you want to get it a friend. But I would get lovebirds in the beginning. I wouldn't go add the lovebird later, unless you put them in separate cages. Make sure they like each other, like they start sitting next to each other in the separate cages.
And could you have a male, like 2 male lovebirds or 2 female lovebirds? Would they?
It all depends on how those two like each other. Yeah, they're more particular than other birds on who they like and who they don't. And when they don't like somebody, it gets dangerous, and they can kill and hurt another bird. So you have to be careful about introducing lovebirds to each other. I'm leaving that little white speck again. Okay, and then this is, and again, a nice green bird. Look at how all these natural, normal colored birds are green.
Yeah. Oh, I always thought they looked like little watermelons.
Watermelons, yeah. Almost, yeah, there's that one, Lori, that looks like a watermelon.
Oh gosh, yes.
I can't, it's not coming to me right now which one, I know.
So are all the lovebird species, are they pretty much similar in size? Or?
They're really similar. There's one with a gray head, the gray-headed lovebird probably, but that is slightly smaller. But mostly they're similar in size. So the ones you're going to find, the other species that are available as pets are called masked or eye-ring lovebirds, and they'll have a white eye ring around the eye. They're either fishers or masked lovebirds. There's some that you can see at bird shows that are like Madagascar lovebird, or there's a black cheek lovebird, I think it is. But they're very rare. You aren't, unless you're a specialty breeder, I don't think you're going to end up with one of those. Or showing birds.
If you had to compare the personalities of the 3 that you've drawn so far,
Yeah.
how would you like rank, I don't know how to say the right word, but like Budgie, Cockatiel, and Lovebird?
That's not fair, because you notice I have cockatiels here as pets. Rank them how, as pets, or?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so my choice has always been cockatiel.
Well, I mean, like, not rank them, that's the wrong term. I mean, like, as far as like overall personalities, maybe like they're so the Budgie is it seems like a very busybody bird, right?
Yeah, Budgie's really busy and chatty, and they can talk, and they don't necessarily need to be cuddled a lot. The cockatiels like to be cuddled, and they like each other. And the lovebird, if you like, and then talk about cuddle, and the lovebirds like to be like in your pocket and
or in your hair, right?
or in your hair. So yeah, and they need that like daily interaction. So you really want a hands-on bird. Maybe you want a lovebird. Yeah. And you probably don't want a parakeet and a cockatiel somewhere in the middle. Cockatiels are fine with ambient attention. They do like attention, but you can just be in the room. They don't necessarily need to be held.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the parakeets don't want you to touch them, but they're really pretty, and they're chatty, and they're interesting, and they come in a lot of colors. So yeah, it depends on what you want in your bird. And if you want talking, then you don't want the lovebird. Then you want the parakeet. If you like whistles, and then you want a male cockatiel. If you want quiet, you go for the cockatiel, because the lovebirds and the parakeets are noisier. Cockatiels aren't silent, and all 3 of these are still apartment birds. So lovebirds, and also if you want something even smaller, you like a lovebird but not a lovebird, you could look at parrotlets too. I'm not drawing or painting a parrotlet, but they're kind of lovebird-like, and they're nice, neat, the way they act, and then their nice, neat feathers and the colors they come in. They're really small.
They're the smallest companion parrot.
Yeah, they are the smallest companion parrot. But if you live in a small space, maybe that's attractive too. Okay. So there's our peach-faced lovebird.
And are the males and females pretty similar in color for this species?
So for this species, yeah, it's only the cockatiels that came in that were sexually dimorphic. If you look at a lovebird, you would have to have a DNA sex to know whether it's a boy or a girl. Now they know whether they're a boy or a girl, but you don't know without doing tests.
Ooh, what we got here?
Oh, and then this is a kakariki because I had a special request to make sure and put kakariki in here.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell us a lot about the kakariki because this is one a lot of people might not have heard of before.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't seen a kakariki for a long time, but yeah, I've always heard they're good pets. They're from New Zealand, so kakariki is Maori for little parrot. Yeah, so it's funny how a lot of our pet birds are from Australia, New Zealand. I don't know how that happened.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Although parrotlets are from South America. Where are parrotlets from?
Yeah, that's true. Parrotlets from South America, and then the lovebirds are from Africa. And so kakarikis are they're really fun, active birds. They come in a lot of mutations now that didn't used to be the case. They're playful and interactive. So it's kind of a combination of a parakeet and a cockatiel a little bit. And so this I'm going to make the wild color, which is green, but they come in yellow now. So yellow with red on the head. They can live 10 or 15 years, so similar to a cockatiel. And let's see. They like being allowed to fly, so you might want to think about that if you're going to get one. They're streamlined, like cockatiels, they've got the long tail, really streamlined.
So would they be housed in a cockatiel-sized cage, or?
I think that would work pretty well. Yeah, although you'd want to be sure and let it out. And they also they talk surprisingly well, so that makes them, if you're into talking, then this might be the bird for you. They can learn tricks. So all of our small birds can learn tricks. So I went to Universal Studios once to do an article for Bird Talk and interviewed the bird trainer. And, so why do you use macaws to, is because macaws learn tricks so well? No, it's so that the audience can see the bird.
Oh,
they had a lovebird up there on the stage, the audience couldn't see him, so they used bigger birds. It's not that smaller birds can't learn tricks and learn all the behaviors that a big bird does. So I think all our small bird owners should keep that in mind too. They can be just as good at putting rings on pegs and all those different kinds of things that you see the big trained birds doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it also makes a way to interact with your bird. We're stuck at home a lot these days. You could be training your bird to do some trick. So very basic colors. Little kakariki. Imagining it running around, being playful, chattering away.
So the kakariki has a long tail. So if you're in a, I was like, if you walked into a bird store to be able to identify a kakariki quickly, because when you look at it, it's a green bird, so you might think conure or Amazon.
Right. It looks a little smaller than a conure. Look for the red on the front. It's because it's always got the red, and I guess it's got a long tail. It's acting more like a parakeet than a. I don't know. Yeah. Look at the label too. It will be smaller than a conure and act and shape different. It's got this kind of chunky. It's got this weird small head compared to its body.
And do they have color mutations of kakarikis, or are they?
They come in bright yellow. The bright yellow, and it still has that red on the head. It's really pretty. And there's pied. It's green, but splashes of yellow throughout the body. Okay. And they have some cinnamony kind of brownish color too. Yeah, so you don't, so anyway, they are coming in colors if you can find them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one for a long time, but I did used to see them at bird shows. You know, there's some really undervalued birds as pets. The kakariki would be one. They make nice pets, but people just don't know about them. And then the next one is two. This is the last one I was going to do today. We could still talk about other small birds if you want. So this is a Bourke's parakeet. It's one of the grass parakeets, native to Australia, but really, so if you want a quiet bird, these are really quiet, gentle birds. Oh, I forgot to do the ink on the other one. The Kakariki, might have to go back and do that. They have kind of sears like a parakeet does. And then they have this scaly little colored face. All right. Bourke's, so wait, I haven't put the color in yet, but there's a rosy Bourke's that comes in bright pink. It's just like Pepto-Bismol pink. And they're very gentle birds. They're cuddly. They like to ride around on your shoulder. They like to be with you. It's what a lot of people want. And then you aren't going to upset your apartment neighbors getting one because they're very quiet.
Would they be the quietest of the bunch that you've drawn so far?
Of all those that we've done today, these would be the quietest. Yeah. Even when they're doing their natural call, it's just a tiny little call. And they can live as long as a cockatiel might, 10 or 15 years. Which is, it's still always an estimate. It might mean more. Have a long tail again, because they're a parakeet, just like I was talking about budgies being a parakeet. They're little slim-bodied, long-tailed birds.
So are lovebirds not considered parakeets because they have a blunt tail? They're small, but they have a blunt tail.
They are not parakeets. Yeah, I know. And cockatiels aren't parakeets. They're kind of cockatoo.
So these guys are a little bit bigger than a budgie, right?
They're bigger than a budgie and smaller than a cockatiel.
So they'd be most likely, I'm guessing, mistaken for a pink budgie or a pink cockatiel.
Yeah, right, because they have this little sear like a budgie has. So yeah, when you looked at it, you might think it's a bright pink budgie, but budgies don't come in pink. Yeah, so that would be one of your clues. And then when it makes no noise, because budgies chatter, chatter, chatter. I mean, budgies are really busy all the time. They're always talking. Oh, so a Bourke's owner wanted me to be sure to mention this. You know how all the rest of the birds we've mentioned can climb up the bars of a side of a cage to get from the bottom to the top?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bourke's can't. I don't know why. She says they always have to either fly up from the bottom or use a ladder.
Really?
Yeah.
So what kind of housing would you recommend then? If they,
I would at least a cockatiel size cage, and they do like to fly. Any of these slim-bodied, long-tailed birds are good flyers, so if you can accommodate their flying and get them out of the cage to do that, that's really good.
almost like a small aviary or flight cage is what they.
Yeah, right. It's always better the bigger the cage, even though it's a small bird. If you can get a relatively big cage, it's always a good idea. Let's see if I can make a nice pink. These birds are just such a startling color.
Yes.
It's turning out more orange.
So the Bourkes are probably, I'm going to guess the Kakariki and the Bourkes are probably a little bit less common to see.
Less common, harder to find, so you'd want to go to a specialty bird store might have them, but you aren't going to just find them everywhere. Whereas the cockatiels, parakeets, and lovebirds are pretty common.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And they all of these come in different color mutations. So there's a normal Bourke's, and then the rosy Bourke's is the bright pink. I don't know if I'm going to get It's pink. They're even brighter than this. You'll have to take my word for it.
Oh, yes. But the regular Bourke is, yeah, if I remember correctly, it's a little more gray, right?
It's a little, yeah, it's a little, there's, excuse me, there's less of the pink color. It's still pink, natural color, but less than the rosy.
And they're the ones that are more likely going to be mistaken for a cockatiel that doesn't have a crest. Because they're gray.
Yeah, I know, yeah, how funny.
You know, I'm sorry, I just have to, I was looking at just at some of the chat that we have, but going back to the budgies real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Someone was mentioning that we're talking about how budgies, parakeets, what they're often referred to, that they're surprisingly good talkers, and a lot of people who share their homes with budgies don't even realize the potential or the fact that their bird might actually be talking. And they brought up Disco. If you ever heard, seen the videos of Disco the budgie, that bird is phenomenal. It's
yeah, a lot of
raps.
Okay. There's a budgie that's well known now for talking.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Disco the budgie. If you Google Disco.
Disco. Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to be ashamed of getting, wanting a small bird that fits in your life. When you get a budgie, they really should be adult pets and not kids' pets, as they often end up. Because they can learn so much. They can be trick trained. They can talk like crazy. They're still going to live 10 years as long as any dog you get for a pet.
Yeah, and we used to. I remember we had an article in Bourke years ago. Small birds, the smaller the beak, the less the bite is kind of the takeaway.
Okay.
So with the small birds, I mean, even they tend to be more shoulder friendly is the kind of the reputation, because
I've never had a really problem with cockatiels biting, and especially if you get a hand-fed lovebird, not them either. And these Bourkes are very gentle, so you don't have to worry too much about biting. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah. You still want to.
Probably the bigger concern would be. Sorry.
You still want to handle them gently, raise them, handle them all the time to make sure that you've got a tame bird, and you are absolutely not going to get bitten. But it doesn't hurt quite as much as a huge bird, and I still think it's less.
Yeah. And I think you might get a sharp pinch if your bird's trying to get your attention.
Right. That's my cockatiel.
I'm sure some people, they.
Yeah. So that's what
I think the bigger concern.
My cockatiels will do if they don't like what I'm doing in their cage, they'll come over, just tap at me or bite at me, but not bite down, not break the skin. Just tell me to go away. So they rarely. I haven't been bitten by a cockatiel forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
The bigger concerns seem to be if you stand up suddenly that they fall. You don't want them to fall, like crash onto the ground, or
right. Or if you have a flighted bird, you have to be careful of having doors and windows open and losing them.
And window fan or ceiling fans,
Ceiling fans, open
small birds.
Yeah,
especially.
Boiling water, filling up wash machine. I mean, there's a lot of dangers around the house for all our small birds that are out with you.
That is beautiful. That is a beautiful bird.
Yeah, they like to fly after you, so you have to watch, when you're going from room to room, if you're going to be closing the door behind you. And
Oops, sorry.
And there's always the nonstick cookware. I just had a pet sitting client lose a bird to nonstick cookware or some kind of nonstick something. I thought it's not produced anymore, but we still might have it in our kitchens when it gets too hot. Yeah.
It seems to me like that the smaller birds, they tend to do more frequent contact calling. So if you leave the room, like Is that something that in your experience, like your cockatiel or your budgie,
Definitely. Yeah, they really, I'm going to go back and put the ink lines on my kakariki just because it's bothering me.
So maybe if you like whistle back, they know that you're still there. And they won't.
Yeah, so I try to develop a contact call. Yeah, some kind. So one, I usually have at least 2 cockatiels, and they talk to each other in cockatiel, and so that helps a little bit. And I have a call to tell them I'm in the house, that I'm here, and you don't have to worry. There still are times, like there's a couple of weeks in the spring when I used to get all kinds of calls about my cockatiel's too loud, because they're calling, they're looking for a mate, they want to find somebody, and their hormones are raging. But you can keep that down a little bit by monitoring the amount of light that your bird gets.
Yeah, that's a neat looking bird.
I know they're really fun birds. So yeah, if anyone wanted to be breeding something that was interesting, the Bourkes and the Kakarikis are interesting birds that make good pets that more people need to know about. And the parrot feet, they have 2 feet, 2 toes going forward and 2 back. That's not all birds don't have that arrangement of feet.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll see a drawing of or a painting in like a restaurant of a parrot, and they'll have the 3 toes forward and the 1 toe back.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I know.
It's like a hybrid.
Yeah. I would always borrow looking at materials or ceramic sculptures or whatever. People tell me.
Oh, so someone has someone on our little chat. Someone had mentioned that Disco, that the budgie I was speaking about earlier, passed away.
Okay.
That's important. But the videos will vary. They'll change people's minds about how parakeets, budgies, how their talking ability is so.
It's amazing.
So, it's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, that is a handsome looking bird.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have to draw. We could just look over them real quickly, I guess. So first we did
a budgie.
A budgie, commonly known as a parakeet, and then we did cockatiels, sexually dimorphic, but they do come in other colors.
Nice.
A lovebird, peach-faced lovebird from Africa. The rosy Bourke, or Bourkes with less rosy.
Yeah.
And the Kakariki. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, those are really amazing.
It was fun. That was fun.
Well, we have some small bird questions for you if you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
The hardest part for me on drawing a bird, not that I'm anywhere near this ability, is getting their feet on the perches. That's
absolutely true. I put the webcam back on me, so I can answer questions. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you have to look at the feet and where they are in relation to the bird and make sure they look like they're on the branch. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so this question, I think you might have really good insight because you're actually near not the fires are kind of near you in California here. Linda asks, smoke is in the air. I'm concerned about the cockatiels and budgies in the aviary. Should I move them in? So should you bring them inside?
I would, yeah, because birds don't have just 1 pair of lungs. They have 7 air sacs in their bodies. So when they breathe air in, we breathe it in and breathe it out, and they breathe it in and hold it in their body before it goes out. So, the canary in the coal mines have alerted miners to gases. So they're more affected by things in the air than other kinds of animals. So if they can't, you can with the smoke. Yeah, we've got tons of smoke in the air where I am right now. That's
okay, and then you might want to.
Yeah, windows closed, birds in if you can. Yeah.
And maybe even have those. Sadly to say, but maybe have those travel carriers kind of ready because if it's
absolutely. Yeah, I'm only 10 miles from the nearest fire, so yeah, I know where my carriers are, and I have friends to take me in. Yeah.
All right, so we have a question from Tandy. Are lovebirds more ground birds? My lovebirds constantly play on the floor and they sleep on the floor of their cages too, like under a newspaper. You know, lovebirds and paper just go hand in hand.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Lovebirds love to be in something. So if you want them up off the floor, maybe hang a box or container, a nest box higher. But yeah, they like to be under and in things. So that's what they're doing. Yeah. I don't know. I know. Yeah, I know cockatiels are ground birds, and I'm not sure about lovebirds. I'd have to go look that up, or maybe somebody else has lovebirds and knows. Yeah.
Okay. Someone asked, could a cockatiel and a kakariki live together? Like, would they be a pair that would coexist peacefully?
I would try that because they have similar personalities. Yeah, I would be okay trying that and the Bourkes, but it has to be a really low-key, mellow bird to get along with a cockatiel. You don't want a parakeet necessarily in a cockatiel because parakeets are kind of high energy.
Maybe bossy. So someone, and then Gregory asked, do all these birds eat the same foods? Generally speaking, do they all pretty much eat the same diet, or would you have to specialize for one?
Yeah, they pretty much do eat the same diet. It's a small bird diet would be good. Yeah. So the difference is whether they eat fruit or not, because I've never found my cockatiels and a lot of, I don't know, do budgies eat, do you have budgies? Do they eat fruit? Cockatiels for my cockatiels.
Yeah.
They don't.
I've had a budgie since I was in kindergarten. So
Lovebirds like fruit a whole lot, and then I'd have to go look up the kakarikis and Bourkes and try fruit out at them to see. But you know, cockatiels are vegetarians, they like vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're leafy greens. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question, because this is okay. So Kathleen says that my cockatiels are very good at stepping up, but they have no interest in sitting with me or being petted. They prefer each other. Can I change that?
Oh, well, that maybe. I mean, you can, I would get one out at a time and have it sit with you. Cockatiels do like just ambient attention, just being with you. But if you're with you for a little while, when next time they're molting, what you want to do is look at when they're getting new feathers on their head. If they're kind of itchy and they can't reach their head feathers. So blow on the back of their head real lightly, and then reach your finger over and start scratching them and helping them with their new feathers. So that's your little window of opportunity to help them out and let them learn to be scratched.
Great. And I remember a trick that, or a tip that I think you had before during our bird talk days, is if you have a fully flight, like your cockatiel, they even when they have a wing trim, they can fly a pretty good distance. Yeah. If you have a flighty bird, to maybe bring them into an enclosed space, like even a bathroom with a toilet seat down, and spend time in there trying to have some one-on-one time with them with the head scratching.
Yeah, make sure there's things out there that they like. It can be a hallway too, but as long as enclosed and where you spend time together, quality time together.
Yeah, quality.
So, yeah, cockatiels are really friendly birds. I think they could come around. Yeah. If the question is lovebirds, I say probably not. Lovebirds are hard to tame if they aren't if they aren't hand fed when you get them.
Interesting. All right, and then Pablo asks, how to stop my lovebird from laying eggs. I bought 7 fake eggs, and I give it to her at once, and I see she has first egg, but it doesn't seem to stop her from laying at least a few more.
Yeah, so that again is controlling the light, get her down to where she's only awake 10 hours a day. That should help. Maybe not offering the nest box or changing up her move the cage and change how it's decorated so that she feels like it's not a stable environment. And also you can talk to your vet because there are hormone shots if it gets out of control, as she might be losing too much calcium. And that's not.
And would they leave the eggs in there, you know, to deter them having that instinct to lay more eggs?
So you could, if you leave them, let them sit on eggs for like 10 days. An egg would hatch in 20, but 10 days helps stop the cycle, and then take the egg away and then make sure there's only 10 hours of daylight. I mean, do everything you can, and then don't give them lots of extra fresh food. Just keep pellets and water or something basic, because those are the stimulus to breed. For cockatiels, it's rain. I don't know if that's all species, because cockatiels and parakeets are desert birds. So rain means there's going to be food. So if there's long days, rain, a nest box, and a mate, but you don't have to have a mate, as your one questioner found out. They'll still lay eggs even without the mate there. But they definitely won't,
They won't hatch.
they won't be fertile. They won't hatch.
All right. And then Phyllis asks, is there a way to get a budgie to open its mouth to administer liquid mints?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
That's a good trick to learn.
No, yeah. So next time, if you know, if a vet prescribed medication to give by mouth, have them demonstrate how to do it, because you want to do it on the left side of a bird, their left side, because that's their throat. You know, the food would go down. We learned that when you hand feed birds, and you can kind of push open its beak a little bit. But yeah, I don't know.
I think when I had to administer liquid medicine to my Amazon, and I remember the vet having to show me how to get him in a towel.
Okay.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
get him in a towel, and then but his little neck would go back and forth, and I would be able to get the syringe in there, and then just kind of the liquid would go in his mouth the best I could. So.
You know, and budgies are just small. The other thing, when you're holding any bird, they don't have a diaphragm. They can't breathe if you constrict their chest. So you want to hold them around their neck and support their back. You know, kind of make a little V around the bird's head and hold their back, because you don't want to be pushing on their chest at all.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or overly stress them out.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess a vet could probably give them up.
But yeah, if you're going to give a bird medicine, hopefully you've gotten it from a veterinarian, and they should. One of the vet techs should be able to help show you how to administer the medicine.
Okay, and this is a good question. So Tandy asks, why is a ringneck considered a parakeet?
Because it's a slim-bodied bird with a long tail, so it's a whole family of birds all over the world. Yeah.
Is it? People used to say it's kind of like saying small dog. Like it's a very general term.
Yeah.
The only one is the lovebirds. It's got the short, blunted tails.
Right. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Let's see what else we have. We have a lot of
even the conures in South America would be called parakeets, but they're slim-bodied, long-tailed birds. You know, we call them conures.
Yes, that's true. Good point. So we're looking for the long tail and a small, slender bird parakeet.
Yeah. That's why we want people to say budgie or budgerigar, to be really precise, and not just parakeet, because that's a whole family of birds.
Yes. And so Tamia asks, are cockatiels and northern cardinals related? They do look kind of alike. You know,
Oh, okay. Oh, because they both have a crest. No, they aren't the least bit related, but that's, yeah. If you look at the beak on
they might be mistaken for each other in the wild. You see them.
I know they both have crests. Yeah. Yeah. So, but a cardinal has a beak for cracking seeds that's straight. If you look at the beak, and our cockatiels are hook-billed birds. All the parrots are, and so their beak is really different.
Okay. Yes. Good point. And then Gail asks, why are lineated parakeets not as popular?
It's another underrated bird. They should be more popular, and they just aren't. They come in a lot of colors. They're really gentle. They're nice birds. They're cute. They kind of look like the Bourke's parakeet a little bit, but even smaller. You know, they're nice birds. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they don't breed as easily. I'm just curious. I don't know if the lineages are definitely a cute little.
They are cute. I think people have to be introduced to those species, and I don't know how you'd find out about. So Bird Talk did a good job of introducing species to people, and it's not there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, the small, especially with the smaller, lesser known birds.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Tamia asked, do parrotlets need a lot of attention? Parrotlets need a lot of attention?
They need like an average amount of attention. I consider parrotlets a lot like lovebirds. You want to handle them every day, but they don't take tons of attention. Whereas your kakariki or your cockatiel wants to be with you and on your shoulder no matter what you're doing. But yeah, not necessarily a parrotlet. It can entertain itself pretty well.
Okay, and I just was thinking, because cockatiels are dusty birds. They have the sheep.
Yeah.
Are any other birds dusty like them?
So not the ones that we talked about today. Cockatoos, which are related to cockatiels, are very dusty. Amazon grays kind of have African grays can be a little bit dusty.
But like the kakariki isn't like a dusty bird.
None of those other birds that we talked about today are dusty. Like, yeah, cockatiels have down feathers that disintegrate into dust, and they, you know, when they shake, you can see the dust come out.
That's why you don't want to house them near your electronics, because
that's right, or bookshelves. I learned that the hard way. And also, yeah, my computer cleanup guy would always mention all the dust in my computer. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So Eileen asked if she could. Can you purchase these incredible drawings? So there you go.
I got
yeah. Do you have a like an Etsy website or something? Do you sell your drawings?
I do sell my drawings, so somebody could email me if they're interested, or I could do a picture for them. You know, I take commissions. Can I give people my email?
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's
we can forward requests to you. There you go.
Okay.
And then Diane wants to see your birds. I don't know if you have to bring them in front, but we can hear them so well. So.
Oh, okay. I could bring my Pionis in.
Oh, that's right. You have Pionis.
Yeah, I have a blue-headed Pionis. Yeah, I'll bring Aztec in, which isn't this.
Well, we'll have to do a webinar on Pionis sometime. That's
an
underrepresented group of parrots right there. So, someone has mentioned that they got into Linny's because of Bird Talk magazine. That's a great little bird.
I know that would be my next bird. So here's Aztec, my blue-headed Pionis. Who's the one? Not the one making noise out there. It's the cockatiel. Yeah.
Wow. Does he get along with your flock?
Well, so
the rest of them.
So she really likes the cockatiels. I found out because I tried to take her with me pet sitting, and she was really noisy because she's a really quiet. Pionis are really quiet birds, but she missed the cockatiels. They don't live together in the same cage or anything. But she likes being around them, and they're part of her family. They're her flock. And the cockatiel seems to really.
And is it true the smell? And Pionis have a distinct smell. People like.
They do. In fact, she's doing it right now. It's this really sweet smell that she can throw off when she's happy or excited. It's not.
That is so interesting because I can't.
It's not a smell all the time, but I'll walk up to her when I haven't seen her for a while, and poof, there's a smell in the air. She can throw it off at certain times.
That's fascinating. I can't think of any other parrot that has a smell like a Pionis does. I mean, Amazons I can, because I'm familiar with them, but Pionis have that distinct Pionis smell.
They do. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then someone had asked, Tamea wants to know how many birds you have, just to throw it out there.
I have 2 cockatiels, Aztec the Pionis, and a canary. 4 birds. What kind of canary?
Yeah.
It's a red factor canary, but it does sing really. It sings really well.
That's a bird that's fed a colored diet to bring out the red.
It is. So mine hasn't been fed the colored diet, so it kind of is sparrow colored. But if I did feed it red dye, it would turn red. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so Tamea asked, this will be probably our last question. Can you nail file your birds' nails instead of clip them? So can you use a nail file on your small birds to keep their nails in check? Or should you use one like a clipper?
So I use a nail clipper, but you could file them, especially you could train your bird to hold up its foot and do that, really regularly, and then that would keep it filed down.
Okay.
It's all about training.
Can you see the quick of the nail on cockatiels, budgies, the birds that we drew today? Some birds have dark nails and you can't see it.
It depends on the color of the bird, yeah. So most of my cockatiels are gray and have dark nails, and Aztec is dark nails, so then you can't see the quick. So you just want to cut a little bit at a time, but more often. So filing them down would be good because you wouldn't be doing much at a time.
And there's also the option of grooming perches. Have those worked for you in the past?
No, I've never used a grooming perch. I'm always afraid they're gonna, be rough on their feet, Yeah, maybe make their feet sore. They're never off their feet. Sometimes I think about that. They sleep on their feet, they eat on their feet, they're up on their feet all day, and so they're really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of a rough sort. You definitely wouldn't want that as the only protein option, because that'd be a lot of roughness on the delicate feet. Well, gosh, I think, Diane, that is all we have time for today. We'll have to cover small birds again sometime, because they need their due. You know, there's a lot of small bird lovers out there.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of great things about small birds. Yeah, I'm glad you invited me to talk about them. I get to share again.
No, thank you. And wow, those are their drawings are just beautiful. So you definitely capture the bird's essence and its beauty, and that's a very good talent to have. So
thank you.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. So I guess that's it. That'll be time for today for the webinar. And I want to remind everybody that next Friday, we're going to have Dr. Tom Tolley back on with us for more Ask the Vet. So tune in for that one. And then we have that special webinar on this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time, where I am. There's going to be a fundraising webinar for the Alex Foundation. So you can go onto lafeber.com under our webinar link, and you'll see that there. And then that is going to be with Dr. Irene Pepperberg, and she's going to bring you inside the lab, so you get to see Griffin and Athena. You get a really insider look at the lab that she spends. You know, we've had so many breakthroughs with Parrot intelligence just through her work alone. So so I encourage everybody to check that out, and that'll be it's a fundraiser webinar that's on this Sunday, so August 23rd. So Diane, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you soon. Everyone, stay safe, and all the best to you and your flock. Bye.
Okay. Bye.